We also have, and being supported by strategic partners, other European networks, organizations who help us promote and disseminate the events and activities of the campaign. During the 5 weeks of All Digital Weeks campaign, we have been focusing on specific weekly topics under which training programs and events were organized at international level through a number of events and also local levels across Europe. And the first week was dedicated to the topic of enhancing digital skills and promoting digital inclusion and accessibility. And that week was supported by Huawei and Microsoft. And we also had 2 other events organized by our strategic partners during that week, by DSIS Network and the European Parents Association. We were honored to have Maria Gabriel joining us for the launch event of the campaign. She's the EU Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth. And she gave us a presentation on reflection and policy updates on the Digital Education Action Plan and why the focus on education will strengthen Europe. And she said, we are at a turning point for development of digital skills, and we need the support of all education and training stakeholders. And she was expressing that she was counting on us and you to carry on bringing this vision forward. We were also honored to have a representative of Huawei Technologies, Tony Jean, Chief Representative to European institutions, who gave us a welcome speech on driving demand-driven skills development to nurture digital talent and to bridge digital divide. And he was telling us, we'll have to enhance people's digital skills by combining the strengths of the European traditional industries with vocational training. And we can significantly improve the skills of digital talent across whole Europe. And we were also honored to have Jeremy Rollison from Microsoft with us at the launch event, who is the Senior Director of the European Government Affairs, Microsoft. And he was talking about skilling for the future, building a more inclusive skills-based society. He told us everyone should have the opportunity to be part of Europe's digital transformation and have access to the skills needed to succeed in our increasingly digital world of work. And then we moved to the second week of the campaign, and the theme of the second week was fostering digital literacy and tackling disinformation. We had a number of events during that week, project events, where we were presenting our activities and results. And we also had an opening launch event with the support and with the co-organization with Certiport. The launch event was focused on fostering digital skills and the value of certification. And I also have a quote from Fiona Fanning, who was saying digital skills matter more than ever, and the stakes are higher than ever before. Certification is the capstone that valorizes these essential skills. The third week of the campaign was to celebrate the update of the Digital Competence Framework for Citizens to its 2.2 version. And throughout a great number of events, we were exploring how to promote and the use of the Digital Competence Framework in practice. We organized the kickoff event on the 28th of March, together with the Joint Research Center of the European Commission. And we had Rina Vurikari joining us from JRC. She was leading the Digicomp update process. And she said that it was a privilege for her to lead the open process of the Digicomp 2.2 update. And she thanked to the participants of the community of practice, a Digicom community of practice run by all Digital, and also all other stakeholders who were involved in the updating process. During the 4th week of the campaign, we were exploring the topics of cybersecurity and safer internet within modern societies. And that week was co-organized by Microsoft, with the support of Microsoft. We had a lunch event on the 4th of April. And we had Una O'Sullivan, from Corporate Affairs Manager at Microsoft Europe, joining us. And she said Europe's digital ambition is only possible if it extends to ensuring increased security, safety, and empowerment for all users, regardless of age. And then we are now at the 5th week of the campaign, from the 11th to the 14th, close with this closing event, reviewing what's happened, and also we will hear about members' success stories. The week is devoted to improving STEM and STEAM skills for the society, and very importantly, encouraging girls' and women's participation in STEM studies and careers. And with this topic and approach, we also like to promote the implementation of the Digital Education Action Plan, as also other weeks were very closely linked to the different actions of the Digital Education Action Plan. During the launch event of this week, we had Leonie Bolting with us from the European Commission, from DG Education and Culture. And she said, among other things, if we want to go to an inclusive digital transition, it's an absolute priority. An absolute priority which the Commission is putting forward is the need of more women at the table. And by saying this, I would like to basically open the discussion of today. Thank you very much for 2 speakers who accepted our invitation: Ciaran Conlon from Microsoft and Martina di Ridolfo from European Trade Union Committee for Education. And before giving them the floor, I would like to invite my colleague, Norman Röner, Policy Officer of All Digital, to further introduce the speakers and the topics of today's discussion. Thank you very much. I stop sharing at this point, and Norman, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Peter. I would like to thank the 2 speakers who have agreed to speak here today. We had more speakers planned, but unfortunately, due to the upcoming Easter holidays, they were not available. As you know, and could see probably from the wide range of topics we covered during the weeks, which are in themselves only a selection of topics we could have covered. There's a lot to say about digital competences and a lot of relevance for them. So we are pleased today that we have Microsoft here representing industry, and who have been very good in supporting us in the event. And it's good to know that industry is taking digital competences seriously. Ciaran Conlon is the Director for European Government Affairs at Microsoft. He has spoken at the launch event as well, has kicked us off in the week, and now he's here to talk to us about what is to come. What can we look forward to in the world of digital skills development? Ciaran.
Well, a small topic there, Norman, to kick off with just what's ahead for the digital sector. First off, can I just say what an amazing 4 or 5 weeks it has been, and to congratulate Peter and Norman and Victoria and the team behind the organization, a remarkable program of events. And we talk about the future, and one of the things that I suppose we've all learned is just how uncertain the future is, and how important these types of forums and these types of discussions and collaborations are. It's only 6 weeks as we were getting ready for the first launch event that the Russian invasion of Ukraine took place, and the whole world effectively changed overnight. And it just reminds us all of the privilege, the freedoms that we have to be able to have these conversations, these discussions in an open, collaborative way. And I always feel it's worth noting that in any session of this nature. What's next? It is a very big question, but the thing that has struck me when looking at this wider agenda, and we have the overarching Europe's digital decade to consider, to think about in all of this. But as I looked at the events and the programs and the content, you very much realize that the issues facing Europe with a digital decade are very similar to the agendas in a non-digital world. So for me, it boils down to three broad areas that in a non-digital world you think about, but certainly in a digital world you have to think about. The first is just personal safety. The second is the safety and robustness of the institutions that we rely on for the proper functioning of our society. The third is what I would describe as equality of opportunity and participation and inclusion. So all those issues that are so important offline are perhaps even more challenging online. And that's just something that, in terms of Microsoft's contribution and engagement, I think came through very strongly, and I'd be happy to talk about some of those in a little bit more detail. But the future is 149 million more jobs by 2025 globally in the tech sector. Are we ready for that? Do we know how we're going to meet those challenges? How is Europe going to be to the fore in leading that transformation that is undoubtedly coming? And I look forward to discussing some of that in a little more detail, and look forward to Martina and her contribution as well.
Can you hear me?
Thank you very much, Ciaran. Yes, give me a moment, Martina. Thank you for your contribution. Very much welcome, and we very much agree. When we talk about digital competences, it's a lot of different stakeholders who we are talking with, who are relevant. There's the students, there's the industry, there is public sector providers, but another stakeholder group that is very often, unfortunately, neglected, but who has a lot to say in the matter, are the teachers who are delivering the digital competence training, or who are wanting to improve on improving the digital competence of our students and pupils. And to speak on this topic now is Martina Di Ridolfo, who is a program officer at the European Trade Union Committee for Education. And among other topics, her topic is digitalization. Over to you, Martina.
Thank you, Norman. Thank you, first of all, to All Digital for this invitation, and congratulations for this campaign and for the intense week and all the topics that you have addressed during this period. I think it's an excellent initiative for awareness raising on topics that should be more in the spotlight of our daily work. I'm also pleased to be with you today and to be a bit the outsider, let's say. I think it's good to bring a different perspective. Like you said, Norman, I bring here the perspective of teachers, as the Education Trade Union Committee for Education is a federation of trade union who represent all the education personnel, only for formal education. So we cover all level of education, starting from early childhood education up until higher education and vocational education and training. So it's indeed might be an unusual perspective when tackling and addressing the topic of digital skills, but we have seen in the last 2 years how teachers are also involved in delivering digital education, and now is important to ensure that teachers have adequate digital skills. This is the only way for making sure that we are delivering inclusive education, and education is accessible for all. So you asked me what is relevant for teachers, and I want to bring some data, some concrete data from a study that we have conducted in the last 2 years. This was a project that we conducted together with the employers in the education at the European level. The project is called eSpeed, and it was conducted unexpectedly in the period of the pandemic, when all education activity had to shift to online or remote activity. And we have seen more than ever how important was to have teachers well prepared to deliver online teaching. And in the framework of this study, we have conducted a research where we had the opportunities to interview education social partners, so both workers representative and employer representatives. And we asked them how teachers are prepared in their respective countries when it comes to digital skills. So one of the interesting findings from this study is that when we are talking about the concept of digital skills, the 90% of teachers are reported to be aware of the concept of digital skills. But what's more interesting is that when it comes to practical application of digital skills, well, the reality is quite different. And to give you the practical data on this, only 51% of teachers were reported in the study to be prepared to have and to possess adequate digital skills to deliver digital skills and blended teaching. To deliver digital education and blended teaching. So based on this data, we look for which are the needs for teachers to be addressed. So one of the main points is definitely training. So teachers go through an initial education preparation, and our experience showed that so far the initial program, so the initial education is not up to date to meet the needs of our digitalized world. So that's the first aspect. But even more interestingly, when it comes to continuous professional development, so the continuous training that teachers should have during their career, well, in this case, only 37% of teachers are reported to have adequate training. So this gives already a first idea. And Norman, please tell me if I can go a bit deeper, or if you, all right. So you mentioned the digital skills, and I would say that when it comes to formal education, we need to have an additional cautious because in formal education, we cannot just look at the digital skills, but we need to consider them and we need to provide them in combination with pedagogies. So having a good interlink between the digital skills, so the hard skills, and these include the skills of teachers to use the software and to be aware of how to use them. It also need to combine with a pedagogical approach of how to integrate these skills within the pedagogical practice. And this, it has been one of the main points which is actually missing still nowadays, and on which we put forward one of our main demand for the future of education. Then what shall we do then to improve the training of teachers? Well, first of all, the training, the quality of training and the content of training should be adequate and should correspond to the world where we are living today. Then in many cases, it happened that these trainings are either on the charge of teachers, so financially charged for teachers, or they happen outside the working hours. So we don't really have a system that encourages teachers to take part in this training. And even when they take part in this training, the question is, will teachers be able to get the competences they need? So that's another point to consider. Then, of course, there is what I would call the supportive environment. And this supporting environment includes, first of all, digital infrastructure, and I will come on this back in a moment. Then technical support. We have seen that in many cases, government consider digital education as a cheap means to provide education. Well, when comparing also to some edtech responsible, we all agree that in order to provide quality digital education, you need money. It's expensive to provide quality digital education. So all the infrastructure and the assisting supportive staff to teacher, these are also essential component. And something that we should also consider is that Europe, in this case, which is at the core of our discussion. So the situation in Europe is quite varied. So we have seen that there were some countries which were most prepared, were more prepared for the provision of digital education, but we still have important gaps between rural areas and cities, between more developed countries and underdeveloped countries, and these gaps needs to be addressed and needs to be considered when delivering any recommendation or any plans for digital education. Also the background of students and teachers as well. We have in some regions like it was the case of Georgia and Romania, where teachers were reported not having access to internet. And in the same case study that we have conducted in Romania, we have seen that the main cities were actually well equipped and quite matured to provide digital education. But then what about the rural areas where the situation is quite different? So here is, I think, one of the main outcomes is that the context matter, and one size fits all approach cannot work. So that's an overview from my side, but I would be happy to go more in depth if you wish. Thank you, Norman. I hand back to you.
Thank you very much, Martina. As always, yes.
I might just jump in there, Norman. I think it's a perfect illustration of how predicting the future and the challenges are so complex that, you know, 2.5 years ago, the idea of all the remote learning and the remote teaching and the challenges for the educational establishment could not have been anticipated. I know in Dublin, where I'm based, the transformation has, you know, it's maybe delivered 10 years of educational and digital reform in the space of, you know, 10 weeks. So this is the constant challenge, I think, in this space, and I think training and empowering the teachers is so integral to what the future will be built on, and anybody that doesn't prioritize that is really facing a lot of challenges, I think. The sort of Microsoft approach, and like our mission globally, is to empower every individual and every organization to achieve more. In the skilling sense, what we're looking to do in Europe is to provide a secure infrastructure to do all the types of things that Martina is talking about, to connect everybody, because of that insider-outsider challenge that every country has to deal with, and is the root of, I believe, so much of the political discord and disconnection. And then the last aspect, or the last leg of the three-legged stool, is to skill everyone. And to just go back to the idea that if you're going to do any of this or achieve any of this at a European level, you do need to look at the basics, like people feeling safe online, our institutions being robust, and people being included. And one of the things that really struck me, and again, it's a colleague from Microsoft that spoke to this, was around the Digital Civility Index that Microsoft runs in 22 different countries on an annual basis. And it's a fascinating read to look at the ebb and flow and what happened during lockdown as well, and how the actual civility index improved, but more countries recorded that online aggression, harms increased during the pandemic. But over the 3 years, the overall civility improved online, and you're looking at all the different types of harms. Of some hope is the fact that the biggest driver of the improvement was online teenage males. But there remains then, and this speaks to some of the other issues that we may touch on, a disproportionate number of the harms and the abuse is directed at females, both teenage and older adults. So if you're going to create an environment where this type of digitalized education structure and training and working environment is going to work, we really have to work on basics like online safety, and that's something that Microsoft is very heavily committed to. We've created a Council for Digital Good that is driven by teenagers across Europe. That's really trying to educate and bring everybody up to a level of understanding about what constitutes online poor behaviors and what doesn't, and that's something that we're going to be committed to over the coming years, and Europe is very much leading the way on that. The other issue that really jumped out for me is, and again, it's very topical at the moment, is cybersecurity broadly. And I know both in Ireland, but everywhere, when every educational platform went online, one of the recurring challenges, certainly for the first 6-9 months, was, you know, abuse of hacks of systems and children being exposed to all sorts of content. And you then realize that so many public systems are really not equipped to provide secure structures to do the things that we want to do. So if you have these benign, positive ambitions, but you don't have the architecture, the structures to deliver, then you start falling. And I know in Ireland, we had a particularly severe attack on our health system about a year ago, and it caused hundreds of millions of euros worth of damage, apart from patient impact as well. And that was because of some very basic cybersecurity issues that weren't handled very well. So one of the things Microsoft is focused on over the coming years is skilling more and more people for those roles that are essentially increasingly new roles that every organization will need to have. It started in the US. Our president, Brad Smith, announced a commitment to skill up 250,000 Americans using the community college system in the States. That program is now being extended into Europe, and there are 12 countries in Europe that we are starting that program as well. And again, that's the future of the digital environment, that you have to have the basics right if the type of agenda that Martina was particularly talking about can be delivered safely, securely, and then we get onto an inclusion agenda as well, which is very much at the heart of what Microsoft is looking to do as well. But so many issues that are urgent, pressing, but at the same time very consistent with arguments and debates and discussions that would have happened in an offline environment for years and years before we started dealing with this online version. So I think we're not starting from with a blank page in terms of what the issues are, and Martina definitely touched on a lot of them in an educational environment and teaching environment.
Thank you very much, Ciaran. Before I hand back to Martina to also maybe add to what Ciaran just said, if she wants to, and notice for our audience, if you have any questions for our speakers, please type them in the chat. And we still have a few minutes. If you have anything you want to ask, then we can answer them or get them to answer it. But Martina, do you have anything to add to what has been said?
So just to mention normally that I was asked the link to the research that I was mentioning before, and I just posted into the chat. There are also two case studies that we have conducted in Denmark and Romania, and one of the good example that emerged from the Danish case study is this concept, this Danish concept of Bildung, which is a Danish approach to digital education that aim to integrate digital education within the pedagogical practices and use digital tools not just for the sake of using them, but as a holistic strategy to educate critical thinking and to really educate users and citizens that are fully aware of the digital landscape. And I think this relates also to what Ciaran was mentioning before, of the fact that as of today, we still don't have a full awareness of the risks that we incur when we are using digital tools. And I would be interested in knowing, beside your strategy on cybersecurity, what's the government approach of collaboration? Do you have the feeling that also at the public level there is a strategy in terms of cybersecurity? So do you find any kind of collaboration when implementing this?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, Martina, because I think what has happened in the last 2.5 years is that every institution and organization, including political, have had to rapidly get up a learning curve for, I would say, institutions that by their nature are used to moving in a very deliberate, steady, coherent, collaborative way. And then suddenly COVID forced massive change. So I think I have a deep conviction about the importance of government, industry, NGO, civil society collaboration, because I think the current model of government that we have and have relied on for maybe a couple of 100 years has to evolve to meet the challenges of a digital society. We typically have a 19th or early 20th century model of governments that is collaborative, deliberative, and public, and trying to deal with 21st century public policy challenges that move quickly, evolve sharply, and require very different toolkits than governments tend to have. So I think we need to find a sweet spot between governments, industry, and civil society, where we can find a way forward that works for everybody. Certainly Microsoft's approach and that skilling initiative that I described, every country that is working on that skilling initiative will be partnering with government or HEIs or NGOs in the skilling space, so that the work that we do is completely embedded and connected with what the institutions and organizations need. But I would say generally there's been a very steep learning curve for a lot of governments and a lot of institutions. And again, if you talk, again, in my experience from my time in government in Dublin, there are certain departments that are a little bit more traditional than others, and can be a little bit slower to adapt to new innovations and new technology. And so that is quite a challenging issue, to get every stakeholder onto the same page. But COVID has driven a lot of change that wouldn't have happened. And a lot of it is very positive in terms of inclusion and flexibility. But it is a challenge for the teaching profession, I think, to keep pace with that.
All right. I would like to offer last words for Martina, so that we have a balance, that each has spoken the same amount of times. If you have anything to add to this, but there's also, I think, a very good conclusion of what we have discussed, and there's agreement here.
Thank you, Norma. Yeah, indeed, one of my last reflection on this is that I agree that we need to take on an important challenge for the education sector, and there is much responsibility in the hands of teachers. For us, also, one of our priority, of course, as workers' representatives, is to make our education workers fully aware of their rights and also of the risk they incur when using these tools. at the moment we see that this awareness both in students and teachers is lacking. So we want to keep working to push this awareness, and also to make sure that there can be collaboration among the private sector, the governments, and the workers who are those who deliver education and are at the forefront of education in our daily life. So I look forward to further discussion with you on this.
Likewise, Martina. Thanks for those comments and that contribution. I appreciate it.
Indeed, and same goes for us, and I think it goes to show that there is a lot of collaboration needed to improve where we are. And if you look at the statistics that also Martina has referenced, but that also are true on a wider level of European citizens, when you look at the DESI index, that is hovering now for years steadily at 45% of Europeans having basic digital skills. That in Canada's turn means that 44% of all Europeans lack even basic digital skills. And it's good that the Commission currently is taking this seriously and has a very ambitious targets that we have been set for this decade. We're looking forward to 2027, 2030 in the timeline of this. We are now still at the fairly start of 2022. The Digital Education Action Plan spans the years 2021 to 2027, and we are only at the start of this, and still there have been already a lot of actions being taken on this. If it's different working groups on disinformation, if it's the review of DigComp that has been updated to incorporate new realities, new technologies. If it is the feasibility study that we're waiting for now on the European Digital Skills Certificate. If it is also the launch of the Digital Education Hub that has been undergone earlier this year. Later this year, the Commission is expected to release a new proposal for enhancing digital education and looking at enabling factors for this. So there's a lot of movement, and there needs to be a lot of movement in able to reach those ambitious targets. And there is a lot still to do. But, and with this, I think I'm closing the panel. There has also been a lot of work done, not only on the policy side, but also on the ground level, on the grassroots level. And that's why I'm very pleased that in the next section, we are going to hear from some of our members and their successes over the past weeks, particularly in the Digital Weeks campaign. And for that, I briefly hand over to Peter to introduce the next section.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Norman. And before moving to the next session, I would like to thank again Martina and Ciaran for your participation and contributions to this discussion. Thank you very much for sharing some links in the chat. Martina, you shared the link to the study you were talking about, and Ciaran, you shared the link to this cyber skilling program you mentioned. And there was an initiative in Dublin, which is bridging gaps between industry and education. So the participants, please look at the chat and use the links for further information. So thank you very much again. And let's move to the second part of this closing event, which indeed is going to explore and review some local experiences, especially related to the All Digital Weeks 2022 campaign, which is run by All Digital, but ultimately by its member organizations and other external partner organizations across Europe. And we invited several member representatives to talk about their experience, what has happened at national, regional, or local levels in different countries of Europe. To enter this part of the session, first of all, I would like to invite our deputy chair of All Digital of the board, Nenja Wolbers, who is from Stiftung Digitale Chancen, project manager from Germany. Nenja, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. And
thank you.
please, the floor is yours to moderate this part of the session.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter. It's a great honor to talk about the success stories of the All Digital Weeks. And I also want to say from my side, congratulations to, of course, the All Digital team, but also to all the members for this successful weeks this year. I mean, that is a lot of work, and I think there were great activities, great webinars, and also I'm very curious to hear about the success stories on the grassroots level, as you said before. Before we start, maybe I can say a short story about my first encounters with the All Digital Weeks, or when they were still the Get Online Week, I gotta say, because one of my first tasks for the foundation, and also first encounters with All Digital and then Telecenter Europe, was to translate a small survey that had the goal to get all the information about the people who participated in the campaign. So let's say name, but also, or not name, but more like the profile, age, and employment, and so on. Maybe I think the people who are here, the members, and the people who will present the success stories know this small survey as well. It was in 2013. And in this year, the foundation had a quite big event. We invited a lot of people, stakeholders, multipliers, but most importantly, beneficiaries, so senior citizens, like end users. And in the event, we had workshops and a panel discussion and so on. And in the breaks, we handed out tablet PCs for the participants to fill in this small survey. And it was interesting because at this time in 2013, many of the participants didn't really know how to use the tablet yet, or the touch screen. It was not as familiar as maybe we think of it now. And so I was standing there with a lot of people filling in for the people the small survey on the tablet. And to think about it, probably a paper questionnaire would have been faster to reach the goal. But the important part was not that we get all the information, but to spark already interest in using these devices, and to make them curious about it. And so I showed them a few things, first steps, and we discussed about the tablets. And I think this really represents the origins of this All Digital Weeks, to really get people to use, maybe have first steps, but also to look further and use the digital devices. And of course, on the one hand, we came a long way from 2013. We have seen all the great activities presented before. On the other hand, also we heard just now that there are still some challenges and a lot of things in the future to do. So I think also for the next years, the All Digital Weeks are still very important. And I think what is also important is that this, in the last years, the achievements that we had, this is actually something that we can congratulate also ourselves. Like, we did this, we supported with every small step that we showed people how to use the internet, how to use digital devices. We supported these achievements to bring people online and promote digital inclusion. So I just want to say that the All Digital Weeks is also a campaign to celebrate this great work, the great work of our members. And therefore, I'm especially happy to present the success stories today. Also, short comment, if you have any questions to our presenters, then please write them in the chat. And first, we will go to Latvia. And in Latvia, I just checked on the All Digital map. We have, I think, more than 60 events already on the map. Probably there are even more that were in the country, but on the map, over 60 events. So Mara Jakobsone, Vice President of LIKTA, the floor is yours to tell us about your great success story in Latvia.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm not sure if you can see my screen, my presentation.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, it happens, so just wait. And now?
Yes, it's loaded.
Okay. So I want to start where Nenja ended. Actually, the Digital Week in Latvia, or All Digital Week, it's really about partnerships and it's about celebration, because Latvians are the nation who have the Song Festival, which is every 4 years in summer, and then Digital Week in Latvia, it's like Digital Festival, which always taking a part in spring. And it's really about the 13th year that we have Digital Week in Latvia, and it is both for LIKTA, the Latvian ICT Association, the social mission, and some partners already in October and November start to ask when will be the dates for the next year's Digital Week and what will be the topics so that they can mark in their calendars. But it's actually also legal responsibility, because in our state strategy document, digital transformation guidelines, it is written that every year we have the Digital Week in March. Yeah? So it's agreed by all the countries. Yeah? And this year, as usually, we have a lot of partners. We had the main partners, which are also the partners of the National Digital Skills Coalition, Ministry of Education and Science, Ministry of Environmental Protection, State Employment Agency, also the Culture Information System Center, which is a library network. We had also the traditional big IT companies like Latvian State Radio and Communication Center, and TET, which is a telecoms operation. And of course, we had hundreds and hundreds of participants from different small locations, which are the grassroots, the libraries, the municipalities, the local schools, and so on. We had a discussion, should we organize the 5 weeks or should we stick to the 1 week? And we agreed that Latvia is too small actually to have a full 5 weeks. Even some of our partners did start on 14th of March and did end on 14th of April, and thanks for them. But basically we had this 1 week, which is normally the last week in March, and we have dedicated days, like all digital weeks had dedicated weeks. Yeah? And basically it all was linked to the digital decade targets and digital compass goals. The first day was more talking about the policies, the strategies, but also the funding available in Latvia. And it was presented by the leading ministers, by LIKTA president, yeah, discussing what are the policies and how we practically implement them. Then the second day, we have very much focus really for digital skills for businesses, for SMEs, and for employment. We talk about different state programs. We talk about different private initiatives where you can go and upskill yourself independently if you are a teacher or SME or student. And then we had the day also devoted to online services. And this day, year let's say we tracked it differently, not telling just what services are available, but how they are built, how do the chatbots work, yeah, how all these robots, which are virtual assistants, yeah, and that was very, very interesting. Then, of course, as it mentioned in previous session, the security, yeah, and the critical thinking, that's very important. And it's, in our case, it's not only the COVID impact, it's also what happens in Ukraine. And we faced actually dramatic increase of cyber attacks. So this was organized together with the Central Cybersecurity Reaction Unit and Ministry of Defense and many other cybersecurity partners. And then on the 5th day, that day was led by the Ministry of Education. We talked also about the digital infrastructure for education and digital development, including both the physical, but also the content infrastructure and also the digitalization of the teachers. So these were the central events. Yeah, they were broadcasted on main partners Facebook, but also on the largest internet portal, which is TVNet. And I'm happy that the central events just by themselves involved about 13,000 participants. And in total, we had about 35,000 participants at 168 events. You are right, Nenja, not all events are uploaded to all digital weeks map, yeah, because many of the events we actually asked to upload at our website, yeah. And we had also a lot of publications. We used both hashtags for Latvia and also for all digital weeks. And what I like to point out is that basically when LIKTA sends invitation to participate, we mostly send to our National Digital Coalition partners. And we also use the Digital Coalition's new website for posting information about the online event so that everyone can join the event. Yeah. And here you can see also the latest events and news, including today's. And we did the possibility that the partners can easily describe the events, including, you know, the links, the audiences, etc. And then everyone can go there and find it and share the events also on social media, on WhatsApp, on different. So it's really multiplying the effect of the events that you are doing. And I would like to conclude that the good thing is that we always see in digital weeks that after digital weeks you have new partnerships, you have a lot of new resources, because the great webinar done maybe even in small library, it can become an online resource if it's recorded and you can use it in other countries. You have new project ideas and you have really a much more stable partnership. So I think therefore the digital week was important for the end users and for different audiences, but it was also very important for all the digital skills stakeholders that we have in Latvia. And I think that's a short summary from my side.
Thank you, Mara. This sounds great. And thank you for pointing out the value of the All Digital Weeks for several levels of target groups, of course. And I wanted to say it's great that I think you have made some synergies between different kind of programs, and you presented this as well. And actually you, with the days, the campaign days, you met kind of already the challenges, let's say, or the needs of raising awareness for risks, and also for, like, in cybersecurity, for example, and also for having or knowing your own rights that we heard before from Ciaran and Martina. So that's great. Thank you very much, Mara. And now we come to our next success story. And for this, we go to Bulgaria. Welcome, Spaska Tarandova, sorry. She's the executive director from the Global Libraries Bulgaria Foundation. And the floor is yours, Spaska. I think you also brought a presentation for us.
Yes.
Perfect.
Let's try to share.
Let's try to share, and we're looking forward for your story.
Did you see the screen?
Not yet.
Not yet. I don't know why, but I'll try again.
Mm-hmm. There's something coming.
No, it's not my presentation, I suppose.
No.
It's my screen.
Yes.
In general. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Sorry for that, but I usually work on PC and it's my Mac at home.
There we see the different systems, and their challenges. But this looks good. You have to open first the presentation.
But I don't know why it's not open on whole screen.
Maybe if you click on the blue line, double click. I think the All Digital team is more familiar with the Macs.
Oh, this morning when we check, everything it's work. But now when we have to present,
may I suggest That we move on with Brigita and Spaska. I will prepare it with you, and we go after Brigita if Brigita is ready.
Yeah,
that is a good idea. Yeah, Spaska. Right. So we switch a bit and we go now to Slovenia, and we'll come back to Bulgaria later. Yeah. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you.
Hello, do you hear me?
Hi, Brigita. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, because
I don't see you yet.
Reason, I cannot activate my camera. So
now we have several technical issues.
But it was working when I joined in the meeting. You saw me, but now I cannot open it. So I think it's too late to restart it.
Right.
We can.
So you will just hear my voice if it's okay, so that we don't waste any more time. Okay. So thank you and greetings from Slovenia once again. Apologizing for this. Do you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Oh, yeah, you do. Okay. So first of all, I would like to express our thank you on behalf of the Simbioza team to invite me today to this event. We are all very honored that you recognize our work and our efforts, which are rooted in our main mission, which is empower all generation in Slovenia with digital knowledge in order to build an exclusive digital society. Well, in this year's All Digital Weeks campaign, Symbioza's activities were carried out through three our sustainable projects. Firstly, through Simbioza, but it's a city lab, which is situated in Ljubljana. During the campaign, we have executed more than around 25 workshops for elderly, since they are our main target group. Despite some still existing limitation and restriction measurements due to the COVID-19, we were able to organize and execute face-to-face workshops and, of course, online workshops as well. The face-to-face workshops were executed for elderly participants with basic digital skills or no digital skills at all, while the online workshops brought more advanced digital content to our elderly participants. Among others, we have also organized a workshop together with the representatives of the Ministry of Public Administration of the Republic of Slovenia. It was a workshop on the topic of how to use e-public services. Through our activities within Simbioza, but it's a city lab, we have also executed the closing event of the program which we are carrying out called Work in Tech. It is a program in which we provide training and qualification for women aged 18 and more for a job in to train them for a job in IT support. 45 women have successfully completed the program, and at the closing event, also the General Secretary of the Ministry of Digital Transformation of the Republic of Slovenia, Mr. Peter Geršak, was presented, and he was present, and he also presented the women which concluded the course, the official certificate. Within the All Digital campaign, we also executed one additional and exclusive online event within our project, Girls Do Code. It is a program which provides a free coding course for the girls between 10 and 11 years from all In this year, we have more than 40 girls actively involved in the program. The online event within All Digital Weeks campaign was unique since we have for the first time gave the girls who are involved in the program the opportunity to meet and to get to know each other, share their experience, and also to learn together. Within our project, Simbioza Mobilna, a mobile classroom on wheels, we have organized visits in different rural areas in Slovenia. In this way, we reach those who do not usually have an easy access to knowledge providers and educational resources in the field of ICT. And in this way, we somehow contributing in bridging the ICT education gap between urban and rural areas. Through our project called Simbioza Community, we have addressed almost 180 different organizations which are part of our Simbioza community to also actively were involved in these 5 weeks all digital campaign. Maybe just to explain what Simbioza community is, organizations within the Simbioza community organized during the whole year different ICT courses, workshops in their local environment. During the campaign, we encourage them to add also some activities related on the topic of each week's campaign. Unfortunately, I do not have their reports yet, since we have set the deadline to submit their reports until the end of April. Of course, we were also active on the social media and encouraging also other organizations which are not part of the Simbioza community to join in. With our Simbioza community results, we estimate that more than 1,000 people were actively involved in the events in Slovenia during the All Digital Weeks 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Brigita. That sounds so great. And I mean, I think you have, because you said in the beginning, your main target group are senior citizens, but you address so many different diverse target groups. It's just great. And Victoria was so kind to share her screen and to show us a little bit the different kind of events that you had, and posted also in the link in the chat the link to the overview about all of your events. Okay, then thank you so much. And maybe that's a great time to also say to everyone, if you had events in the All Digital Weeks that you are still not on the map of the website, then please add them. I actually have to do it myself as well. So yeah, let's do it still in the next couple of days, couple of weeks. So we have a map that really represents all that happened during the weeks. Okay, then Spaska, let's see your presentation, and we are very curious to hear about your success stories.
Spaska, if you want, I will share for you, and you can talk, and I will continue with the presentation, but I think you're muted at the moment. So I have the presentation ready to be shared. So if you want, I will. Oh, that's great.
It works. Good.
But you're muted, Ms. Spaska, so please unmute yourself.
Yeah, nice. Now it's okay, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah. And I can use the full screen also, maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah. from, sorry colleagues, but I'm a librarian and sometimes it's quite complicated to use different devices. Because of that, we put a lot of efforts from different target groups to improve their skills. Maybe I'm example of this. Since 2016, the Global Libraries Bulgaria, as a member of the All Digital, start to promote digital skills during the All Digital weeks. In the last few years, it's not a week, it's 2, 3, and this year 4 weeks. And actually, in the beginning, I don't think to organize any event this year because the library is under stress regarding the COVID and a lot of measures. And anyway, usually we have 40, 50 libraries. This year, we have only 7 regional libraries, which organize different types of events during the OGD weeks. But it's a good experience, which I want to share with you. The network of the libraries in the bigger than the libraries that take part, but the efforts is good. And I present the activities by the alphabet. I will start in the Varna regional libraries. They organize different types of event focused on the younger students and on the adults users of libraries. And the main topics was the safe internet, makerspace with the focus on the 3D printing, modeling, and also on the fake news. They organize 2 types of training, one from the new librarians for the library network in the Varna region, and also for the young generations, because the spread of disinformation is and propaganda is quite big in Bulgaria regarding to COVID pandemic, vaccination, and now with the war in the Ukraine is too close to Bulgaria. And promoting of media literacy is very important for us as librarians. And the topics was regarding how to deal with disinformations, which are widespread today, and how to it affect the citizen, affect area relating to democracy, health aspects, and how it's increased the hate speech, racism, and discriminations. The Wraca regional libraries also organize 4 workshops to media literacy, but only for the students 15, 17 years old. For libraries, it's very important to show some example from the internet environment in Bulgaria and to teach young students how to recognize immediate disinformation from the real informations. Also, the Gabrovo, they focus again on the, but in this region, they will focus on the small children from 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 6th grade at school to promote the programming, maths, and STEM using the Finch and Bee-Bot robots. They attract more than 168 participants. Also, they visit small libraries in the Gabrovo region. The topics main focus on the workshops and training in the Dobrich region was the safe internet. They organize information days at schools and the library with the children from different age, and they introduce the opportunities that internet gives, but also the threats and how to deal with this. What is the cyberbullying and how we can be safe. Also, how to choose friends, how to share informations, and many other topics relating to safe internet for children. And then every students receive some leaflets with informations, how they can ask for help with different experience in the internet. And it's our hero for many years, this boy from the regional library in Plovdiv. He visits usually small villages, schools in the small villages near to the Plovdiv, is the second biggest city in Bulgaria. And he promotes maths and programming, making the presentation with the robots, toys, to children. It's usually first to 4th grade at schools, and this year he reached more than 7,000 participants, and we hope maybe in the future these children will choose to study maths, programming, and another useful topics relating to our reality. In the Russia Regional Libraries is one of the most advanced in technology library in Bulgaria. They have a lot of devices. This year, they will focus on the augmented and virtual reality, how we can use in our lives. And they show to students how it's work. And they use the t-shirts and throws an application that install in the phone to show the real location of the organ is the human body on the screen. And in this way, non-standard way, they desire knowledge on human anatomy. And hopefully these people will choose this profession in the future. And also they use another application to show the seabed to the students. And it's important to mention that in the Ukraine, children take also part in these events. During their parents study Bulgarians at libraries with volunteers, the Ukrainian children take part in these events. They know, they didn't know Bulgarian, but anyway, when use technique, we can see different words and you can understand the meaning, what they want to present. Doesn't matter, they don't speak Bulgarian. And it is important because we have a lot of people from Ukraine now. We try to integrate them and to make them life easier, and it's one of the ways that library in Russia used during the Digital Week. And also in the Sofia City Library, they organize workshops again for the children, 1st to 4th grade, and they encourage them to study maths and STEM using different robots, drones, and other games.
Spaska, that sounds great. You're already on your last slide. Thank you so much for your presentation.
It's a small contribution this year, but anyway, I think
I think actually it's a lot, especially because you said you didn't want to overwhelm the librarians. We heard before the teachers, but I think you did a great job, and there are so many great workshops. Okay, let's move on. Thank you so much again, Spaska, and we are now going to Lithuania, and our next presenter is Rita Šukytė. I hope I said it okay.
Perfectly.
Okay, perfect. Rita, please let us know about your success stories, and we are a little bit advanced in time. So let's see.
Okay, so I will just start sharing my presentation. Can you see it okay?
Yes, very good and full size. Thank
Good.
you.
So good afternoon, everybody. I'm here from Lithuania, from Vilnius, and I would like to share the experience of all digital weeks that were happening in Lithuania, all 5 weeks, and very active 5 weeks. And really thanks to all digital colleagues for organizing this event again, and of course for the opportunity to speak here in this closing event. So a little bit about our organization, Association Langas ateitį. This year we are celebrating our 20th anniversary. So it's quite a long time for our activities, and we are working in the sector of development of information society in Lithuania. And we have many activities. We started with the establishing of public internet access points where people can come and use computers and internet for free. And we had a lot of initiatives during that time from other funds and ministries and structural funds. And as you have heard from previous speakers about public libraries, so the same in Lithuania. We have a wide net of public libraries in cities, in rural areas, and everywhere in them you can find internet and computers and helpful staff who can consult how to use those devices. And in Lithuania, Langas ateitį, we have like several very important campaigns that are happening in the beginning of the year. One of them is Safer Internet Week, which is happening every year already for, I think, 15 years. Safer Internet Day and Safer Internet Week. It's European campaign also, and it's very important campaign. And then the next one is All Digital Week, or All Digital Weeks, or Get Online Day, as it was in 2010 when we started being the coordinator of this campaign. And nevertheless, that we have a lot of activities, and all of them evolve around the digital skills and safe use of digital skills throughout the year. But I think it's very important to dedicate a week, several weeks, a month to a certain issue and talk about it, concentrating activities around Europe or even the world. So as the coordinator, we have different activities to prepare for the event, and we feel the responsibility for the national partners who are organizing the events, and we want to help them to organize their events, because without the national partners, like, we are nothing, if I can say that. So we select materials and training resources that are relevant to the campaign. We also organize some national online events. Even before the pandemic, we were organizing online events that allows us to reach people everywhere in the country. Information publishing, so we have a section on our website dedicated to digital, all digital weeks, and we publish all the information over there, materials, announcing events, also localizing some of the visuals and some of the visual materials, like you can see this background, Zoom background behind me. It's a bit different from all the other speakers, but it also has the All Digital Weeks logo. It's our national background. And very important part is attracting partners, which I will talk a bit more in the next slide. And we also let's say, do the function of help desk or support during all digital weeks. It means that we support our partners, support the participants, and then if they have questions, they can always come and ask us, and we do this important task as well. Also, not the first thing. You have heard this thing from several other presenters, that partnership is very important, and I think it's the key to success. And one of the most important partnerships that helps us to reach people everywhere in Lithuania is, of course, public libraries, because they are very eager to participate in such events, and they are very eager to educate their community members about digital skills. So they are always waiting for this campaign, they know about it, and they are ready to do some activities. We reach out to our National Digital Coalition members, of course, and if they have some relevant events, or they want to organize some relevant events, they do that. Ongoing projects, it's also we create some synergies with the ongoing projects and other partners. Other partners, they are many of them are from educational institutions, from schools who are organizing local events, but also some business companies who we invite, for example, or other organizations who invite to be the speakers of our online events. So this year we had 6 online events, national online events, and we were talking about, of course, about the subjects that were relevant this year. So it was about cybersecurity, about fraud online, phishing online, about STEM, and inviting the girls to choose the STEM subjects at school. Also about disinformation and how to recognize it, how to work from home. So basically these digital skills that are important for everybody. Even if we think that we know something, we can renew our knowledge always. And those webinars, of course, they are online after the events, and people can see them even after all digital weeks. So basically, this is it, and we are really looking forward to next year and to the campaign of 2023 again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rita. That sounded great, and yeah, I think it's always nice to listen to the success stories of the members and really know what you did in the, or we all did, of course, in the weeks. So thank you so much. And now we have a special treat, and it's a video from Extremadura in Spain. Gema, Parrado, Leon from AUPEX will tell us a little bit about their success story in their region. So let's go.
Hello everyone. It's a pleasure for AUPEX and for me to be part of this All Digital Week's closing event. In Spain, today is Jueves Santo, so we are on the Easter holiday. For this reason, we have prepared this video to tell you about our participation in the All Digital Week's campaign this year. My name is Gema Parrado, and I am project coordinator in charge of the planning and management of these activities inside the campaign from the Digital Competence Program of Extremadura. We have been participating in the All Digital Week's campaign since 2018, organizing a variety of awareness-raising activities and workshops to enhance digital skills and promote different topics related to digital inclusion. In this context, with 2 different activities, one called Rosco Digital and the other called All Digital Challenge, we won twice the Best Digital Resource category in All Digital Awards. We always have been very active, and for example, in 2019, we reached around 1,200 participants. Even during the pandemic, we have continued participating in this event with online training actions, always trying to do our best to reduce digital gap and promote digital skills among Extremadura's population. AUPEX, as a lot of all digital partners know, is a non-profit organization located in the southwest of Extremadura. We gather over 211 folk high schools, most of them located in rural areas, and develop a variety of lifelong learning projects related with culture, environment, although the main organization project is the Digital Competence Program for Employability, reaching over 27,000 users every year. Mainly of our users are disadvantaged groups, unemployed people, and low-skilled adults in risk of social and digital exclusion. In our 75 digital competence centers, we organized digital inclusion-related training actions to provide opportunities for social inclusion and improvement of employability using digital skills. For this year, with the slogan "Enhance your digital skills," All Digital Weeks has been a whole month with different topics every week. And from AUPEX, we have fully participated in activities related to fighting mis and disinformation, with media literacy, of course, tackling the gender gap and promoting STEM and sci-tech careers amongst women, or raise awareness on the DIGICOM framework, allowing participants to use Objetivo Digital, our self-assessment tool to find out the level of digital skills. We also have developed an online event called Meeting with Experts with Maria Zavala to talk with her about digital technologies, security, families, children, and teenagers in the educational sector. With these activities, we have organized more than 120 face-to-face events, included in the All Digital Weeks map of events, with around 700 participants. So we are very proud, both our goals and achievements. We hope that All Digital continues with the organization of this campaign, which we think is very important to indeed enhance digital skills, but also to promote to be a better, well-prepared society that can address the importance of digital transformation and the technological changes we have to live with. To end my presentation, I would like to finish sharing with you how was our All Digital Weeks this year. Thank you so much.
Wow, okay, that was a good video to also release us later into the long weekend, I hope. Yeah, thank you so much to Gema and AUPEX for this great video, for the great success story. Thank you all. It was lovely to hear so much from you, and I think we used now a little bit more time than we should have, but it was so great to hear all your stories. So what can we do? I mean, it's just important. So now I give back to Peter.
Thank you, Dane. I'm very excited about hearing our member stories, and well, we apologize, but at the same time, I think we all enjoyed this experience of hearing from them, apologizing for the delay we experiencing in the program. And I hope you have like 10 more minutes, because I would like to give the floor to my colleague, Andrea Bedorin, who was the main coordinator of the All Digital Weeks 2022 campaign. Andrea, please briefly summarize the results of the campaign.
Andrea, you are muted.
Yeah, thank you, Peter, and thank you, Nenja. So as Peter mentioned, I work together with all digital team and members to make this campaign successful. We have worked on the main goal to enhance digital skills across Europe, and there is the essence of the work done at grassroots level. And today we hope you learn something from our members that is useful for future actions and activities, also for next year and many years to come. And I don't know if you see my presentation. Not full screen, sorry. All right. So basically, the goal of the campaign was to have many meetings, trainings, and conference on the topic of digital skills. And in particular, we had our platform collecting the events, and we try to answer why we need all digital weeks. And in particular, we already understood that there is a digital skill gap across the population, both in terms of basic digital skills, access and accessibility to the internet and to the digital services, but as well having young people that there is like 20% of young people failing to reach basic level, and as well having teachers, as we also understood today, missing the confidence to use digital skills online. The campaign is already well established and has already been the 13th year and focused on digital inclusion and empowerment, and we reached thousands of Europeans. And as Peter mentioned at the beginning, this year motto was to enhance your digital skills, and is a call to action to have an active participation of the whole European population to foster inclusion. Here on the map, you can see that like many countries have contributed and populated the map, as you experience from the presentation of our members from Spain, Slovenia, Lithuania, Latvia, and Bulgaria, but many more countries, around 20 countries were involved, and I believe many more countries will upload, and the association will upload events after the closing, as the map will be still operational. And if you haven't done it yet, I invite you to add your event on the map and share information about digital skills, because it's really important to foster this key and crucial competence across Europe and across all European targets, like from adults, young age, and also in terms of advanced skills in schools, but also universities. And here is visible the reach we had so far. We had under 21 partners, more than 22,000 participants, but I expect this number to increase, and 464 events. There is the possibility to have access to all the events, international events we organized with our supporters and strategic partners, and they are available on the alldigitalweeks.eu website. And as well, there is a resource section where you can have access to content on training, learning, tests, and many other activities supplied by supporters and partners, both international and local level. And here there is a short display of activities like provided by Certiport, Microsoft Europeana, but there are many more partners in the list. And as mentioned, supporters, without them, the campaign wouldn't have been possible. We had Certiport, Huawei, and Microsoft from the industry side, and then a great contribution from the European institutions, and in particular, European Commission, as Peter presented at the beginning of today's conversation. Many strategic partners, such as the European Partner Association, Europeana, covering digital heritage, OBESU on school student unions, EVBB, which is the European Association of Institutes for Vocational Training, European Digital SME Alliance covering small and medium enterprises dealing with digital skills, MEDEA, Media and Learning Association, European Federation for Intercultural Learning, DIESIS Network, and Lifelong Learning Platform. These are the details of the campaign where you can find more information and also for next year. And I want to thank you all, starting from members that participate today, but also the ones that attended the event, supporters, strategic partners, and participants. And I hope to see you next year in 2023. And I give back the floor to Peter. Thank you all.
Thank you, Andrea. Just a moment. So we are getting to the end of today's event. Thank you very much. Again, our speakers, Ciaran and Martina, for joining us today and sharing your thoughts and experiences on the main themes of the campaign, the challenging of digital transformation and education. I would like to thank our speakers, the speakers from our member organizations, Spaska, Brigita, Rita, Mara, and for the video message from Gema from AUPEX Extremadura. And thank you very much, Nenja, for facilitating and moderating this session and discussion. And just a few closing remarks. I would like to thank, I would like to thank our digital board, who was standing behind of planning and designing of this year's campaign. The board members from different countries and member representatives really provided the grassroots support to design the campaign, to set the main themes and goals, and to help us to shape the 5 weeks content of the campaign. And I would also like to thank our digital team members. Thank you so much for your hard work over this 5 weeks period, and even before and even after, as Andrea said, still collecting the evidence from our partners and members of what has happened over this 5 weeks. Andrea, I would like to very much thank for your coordination of the campaign. You have done a great job. Victoria Sanz, who was responsible for all the technicalities which were behind the campaign and the events. Claudia Matera, Gabriela Ruseva for organizing plenty of international events during these weeks. Norman Röner, who was responsible for the policy aspects of the campaign. And a special thanks to our interns, Silvia Spada, Maddalena Buonamico, and Miriam de la Paz, who joined us for this period and provided a great support from their side, so that everything was well organized and well prepared. Thank you very much for your support, really appreciate. And ultimately, our member organizations, their representatives, teachers, trainers, digital education stakeholders, young people, and we are hoping to meet again at our next All Digital Summit, which will take place at the end of September in Prague, the Czech Republic. By saying this, I would like to thank again everyone. Thank you for staying with us. And I think it was a successful All Digital Weeks campaign. And I would also like to say, see you next year.
Let's take a group picture for all those who want to stay with us for a few more seconds. And I kindly ask you to turn on your camera so we can have a last group picture for this successful weeks and successful event. Thank you very much for being with us today. It's really good to see you. All right. All right, I think we are ready. 1 more minute. 2 more people. There we go. Thank you. Let's take one shot. 1, 2, 3. Let me double check we are all in it. I think we are. Thank you very much. Good afternoon and have a good weekend.
Happy holidays.
Thank you, everyone.
Happy holidays. Bye.